The Browns have been here before. A talented young quarterback, signs of promise, and then, nothing. The same cycle of cautious language, internal leaks, and delayed decisions is playing out again with Shedeur Sanders. But this time the stakes feel higher. Sanders isn't just another prospect. His consistency, leadership, and sharp arm talent make him uniquely positioned to turn the team around.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Yet the franchise continues leaning into old habits, opting for control over clarity, optics over opportunity. And those familiar with Cleveland's history know exactly where this road leads. For a franchise trying to rewrite its legacy, the Sanders situation is a litmus test. Do they have the courage to break old patterns, or will they once again become a cautionary tale of talent squandered by indecision? This isn't just a personnel decision, it's a reflection of an organization still at war with itself. And that war is costing them more than just games. It's costing them credibility. The Cleveland Browns are doing what they do best, standing in their own way. This time, the target of their dysfunction is Shedeur Sanders, a quarterback with elite talent, discipline, and maturity, who, by every credible account, is ready to lead. But instead of being handed the reins, he's being shelved. Benched. Boxed out. Not because of anything he's failed to do, but because his very presence threatens the Browns' carefully controlled illusion of progress. At the surface, they'll say it's about development. That he's adjusting, learning. Not quite ready. But anyone paying attention knows that spin. The kind of narrative manipulation the Browns have mastered over the years. It's not about Shedeur. It's about control. Image. Internal politics. The Browns aren't afraid he'll fail. They're afraid he'll succeed, and expose the system that's been protecting the wrong people and the wrong decisions for far too long. From Garrett Bush's sharp commentary to insider reports from Mary Kay Kitt, the consensus is painfully clear. Shedeur Sanders is ready. He's been ready. His performance in practice shows it. His composure in the locker room confirms it. His demeanor reflects a player mature beyond his years. But despite all of that, the Browns continue to stall. They've spent weeks spinning vague updates, offering contradictory assessments, and creating confusion about his role. One day he's making great strides. The next he's not quite there. The truth is, they don't know how to handle what he represents, a future that wasn't part of the current leadership's plan. Because if Shedeur steps in and plays at the level he's capable of, everything changes. The past decisions, who they signed, who they backed, who they refused to bench, come into question. And the Browns are a franchise that protects its ego more than it protects its talent. What they're doing is bigger than a quarterback controversy. It's an institutional pattern. This is an organization that has consistently been paralyzed by fear, of disruption, of being wrong, of losing face. And in that fear, they've allowed dysfunction to masquerade as strategy. They've chosen to suppress talent rather than embrace it. They've chosen to manufacture readiness thresholds rather than recognize actual performance. And in doing so, they've built a culture where players like Shedeur Sanders become political problems, not football solutions. It's not just the media that sees it. The locker room sees it. When a veteran like Myles Garrett supports Sanders' readiness, it's not some offhand opinion. It's a message. Players know who's putting in the work. They know who's outplaying the starter behind closed doors. And they know when someone's being kept on the sideline for reasons that have nothing to do with the game. That sends a message far louder than any press conference. It tells the team, performance doesn't matter here. Progress will be postponed if it's inconvenient. Leadership will not empower players who challenge the narrative. And the players? They internalize that. They stop trusting the process. They stop believing that doing things the right way leads to opportunity. That's how you lose a locker room. And that's exactly what the Browns are risking. Because this isn't just about one player. This is about the core of the team's identity. About whether they are who they say they are, or whether they're just playing dress-up in a culture of accountability they never actually built. You can't preach best player plays, while your best player holds a clipboard for weeks. You can't talk about culture while silencing the one player who represents the exact kind of leadership you claim to value. And the fans? They see it. They're not fooled by the shifting explanations. They know this team has a history of wasting talent, then acting surprised when that talent shines somewhere else. They've lived through the cycles. The Browns hype up change, then pull the plug when it gets too real. They flirt with evolution but back out before it challenges the power structure. What's happening with Shedeur is textbook. Delay his debut until it's safe. Until expectations can be lowered. Until they can say, "We always knew he'd be great, just not yet." But that kind of delay isn't about football. It's about image protection. And it's killing any chance of genuine progress. This isn't a developmental quarterback sitting behind a proven winner. This is a proven winner in the making, being held back by an organization scared of what he might prove. And with every week that goes by, with every game that slips away, the silence from leadership grows louder. They won't say it out loud, but their actions scream it. They don't trust the locker room to handle the truth. They don't trust the fans to support a new direction. And they don't trust Sanders to succeed on their terms. So they stall, and stall, and stall. And every time they do, they add weight to the cracks already forming in the foundation. Because this kind of suppression doesn't stay quiet forever. Players talk. Coaches know. Agents watch. And when the opportunity finally slips away, when Shedeur eventually gets tired of waiting, the Browns will do what they always do. Issue a bland statement, dodge accountability, and wonder why they can't hold on to good talent. But this time nobody will believe them. Because this time, everyone saw it coming. From the insiders to the players to the fans, it's clear. The Browns aren't slow-playing development. They're fast-tracking failure. They're clinging to a system that no longer works, hoping that if they delay long enough, the pressure will pass. It won't. The conversation is only growing louder. More critical. More frustrated. And the Browns are running out of time to flip the narrative before it swallows them whole. They can either lean in, admit what's obvious, and let Shedeur Sanders lead, or they can keep pretending that indecision is strategy. But one path leads to progress. The other leads to another wasted season, another bitter departure, another chapter in the book of what could have been. They still have a choice. But not for much longer. If you're still with us and you're just as frustrated watching this play out, hit that like button. Drop a comment with your thoughts on what the Browns should be doing. And subscribe, because this isn't just a story. It's a slow-motion disaster. And when the breaking point hits, we'll be here for it. Every twist, every turn, every excuse. The Browns know what they're doing, they just don't want to admit it. They've got a quarterback sitting right there with elite upside, complete composure, and undeniable locker room backing. And they're treating him like a long-term project when everyone can see he's ready right now. That's not miscommunication. That's calculated stalling. Shedeur Sanders is not raw. He's not overwhelmed. He's not adjusting slowly. He's poised, accurate, mentally sharp, and respected. His work ethic is off the charts. His approach to the game is mature. And yet, week after week, Cleveland acts like giving him meaningful reps is some radical idea. And here's the part that no one in that front office wants to face. The longer they delay, the worse the eventual fallout becomes. Because this isn't about easing a guy into a system. It's about ego management. It's about fear of change. It's about leadership that would rather protect its own image than embrace a shift it didn't initiate. They've seen this movie before. And they still haven't learned a thing from it. Look at the patterns. Every few years, a talented young player comes in, starts gaining momentum, and suddenly the brakes get slammed. Internal politics creep in. Coaching decisions get weird. Quotes from the top become more evasive. And then when that player inevitably leaves and thrives elsewhere, the Browns release a statement about wishing them well. They did it before. They're doing it again. Shedeur is stuck in a holding pattern not because of anything he lacks, but because of everything he is, a challenge to the current narrative. And that narrative is fragile. It's built on keeping certain decisions above question. Playing him means you're finally asking those questions. And they don't want that. 2. The real story here isn't just that they're not playing Sanders. It's why they're going out of their way to suppress him. They're not just overlooking him, they're dodging him. Carefully. Intentionally. Because once he's in, the old plan is out. The player the front office put their weight behind suddenly looks like the wrong guy. The strategy they sold as the long-term vision crumbles. And worst of all, the fans, the ones who've been demanding accountability for years, get validation that they were right. And if there's one thing NFL leadership in dysfunction-prone franchises hates more than losing, it's being proven wrong. So they build delay into the system. They create confusion around readiness. They leak conflicting reports to muddy expectations. One coach praises Sanders' precision. Another says he needs more mental reps. One insider says he's knocking it out of the park in practice. Another says the team's being patient. It's not indecision. It's control. This is an organization more committed to protecting its comfort zone than it is to pursuing progress. That's why fans are fed up. That's why analysts are growing louder. That's why players are showing subtle signs of frustration. Because it's not just about Shedeur being benched. It's about what that benching means. It means fear is still calling the shots in Cleveland. And it's costing them. Every week Sanders sits is another week the Browns leave wins on the table. Another week of watching a stagnant offense limp along while the solution stands on the sideline. And you can feel the pressure building. Veterans in the locker room aren't going to keep playing this game forever. Guys like Myles Garrett didn't sign up to waste their prime years in another rebuild stuck in neutral. They want results. They want direction. And if they believe Shedeur is that direction, and all signs point to them absolutely believing that, then what happens when the front office keeps blocking it? You get a divide. That's how a team fractures. Not with one bad play, but with a dozen ignored warning signs that eventually turn into resentment. Frustration from the inside. Distrust from the outside. A team that no longer believes in its own trajectory. That's what's at stake right now. Not just one player's development, but the entire foundation of the team. And when people say this could be a turning point, they're not exaggerating. Shedeur Sanders isn't just another quarterback in a jersey. He's the decision. He's the test. Are the Browns actually serious about changing their reputation? Or are they still too wrapped up in preserving the illusion of control? If they are serious, they'd start him. Simple. No games. No manufactured timeline. Just let the guy play and see what he can do. Trust the tape. Trust the locker room. Trust the fans who are begging for honesty. But if they're not? If they keep delaying, keep spinning, keep dragging this thing out for another month or two, then they're telling everyone, without saying a word, that they still haven't changed. That even with the talent, the resources, and the pressure, they're still the team that would rather be safe than right. And there's only so much longer you can keep doing that before the entire system collapses. Because Shedeur won't wait forever. No matter how professional he's been. No matter how much grace he's shown. There's a breaking point. For every player. Especially when they know they've earned the shot, and the people in charge are ignoring it. Other teams see what's happening. They're watching. They know the Browns have a franchise-caliber quarterback just sitting there. And you better believe those teams are already planning for the moment Cleveland screws this up. Because once Sanders walks, once they finally drive away a player who could have turned their future around, there's no walking that back. The apologies won't matter. The "we wish him the best" tweets won't matter. The "we had to make the tough decisions" quotes won't matter. All that'll be left is another lost opportunity, another name added to the list of players the Browns couldn't figure out how to use. And this time no one will be surprised. So now it's a matter of timing. Not for Shedeur's development, but for the Browns' last shot at getting this right. Because every game that passes without a change isn't just a missed opportunity, it's another brick in the wall of distrust they're building around themselves. Soon they won't be able to tear that wall down. Not with results. Not with promises. Not with any last-minute PR campaign. The damage will be done. And when that happens, they'll look around, stunned that things went so sideways, wondering how it got so bad, without realizing they were the ones who built it, brick by brick, excuse by excuse. The Browns are acting like time is on their side. Like if they just wait long enough, the pressure will ease, the questions will die down, and fans will forget that they had Shedeur Sanders right there, ready, waiting, wasted. But here's the truth they can't outrun. The clock isn't working in their favor. It's working against them. Every second they spend trying to protect themselves from embarrassment is another second they let this franchise's future slip through their fingers. They can try to frame it however they want. But no amount of spin can explain away what's happening. When your quarterback room is struggling and you have a player with elite-level preparation, arm talent, and the maturity to lead, and you still won't let him play, what are we supposed to believe? This isn't about readiness. It's about reluctance. Chaos, and the people watching this unfold aren't confused anymore. They're fed up. Fans aren't sitting on their hands hoping for a slow rollout. They're chanting for a quarterback who deserves a shot. Analysts aren't speculating, they're calling out the Browns for what's becoming a blatant act of suppression. And teammates? They've started aligning their support behind Shedeur without even trying to hide it. But the decision makers? Silent. Frozen. Pretending the world isn't watching. They keep leaking statements that say everything and nothing. We like what we see in Shedeur. It's a process. We're evaluating all our options. Translation? We're scared of what it means if he succeeds. Because once he's in, there's no going back. If Sanders performs, the narrative collapses. The strategy, the quarterback depth chart, the entire system of favoritism gets exposed. And Cleveland's top brass, already known for erratic decision-making and a deep fear of admitting fault, can't handle that kind of exposure. So they delay. Because if you never play him, you never have to explain why he was better than the guy you went all in on. You never have to explain why the team didn't trust its own locker room or why it ignored insider reports that Sanders was the best quarterback on the field. You never have to face the truth. But delaying doesn't protect them anymore. It's making it worse. The trust deficit in Cleveland is real. Not just between fans and the front office but inside the building. Every time a player steps up and plays their heart out for a team that refuses to put its best foot forward, that trust erodes. You can't build a winning culture on top of broken promises and double standards. And Shedeur Sanders isn't just another quarterback being held back. He's become the symbol of everything the Browns say they value, but continually fail to act on. They talk about building through talent, about fostering leadership, about rewarding performance. But when a guy comes in who actually embodies all of that, they freeze. Because truthfully, he doesn't fit into their blueprint. Not because of what he lacks, but because of what he exposes. He exposes the fragile foundation of decision-making that props up the franchise's image. He challenges the hierarchy that favors loyalty over logic. And that's why the front office treats him like a problem to be managed instead of a player to be unleashed. But what they don't realize is that the longer they try to contain him, the more obvious it becomes that they are the problem. They are the barrier. Not the scheme. Not the roster. Not the schedule. The refusal to start Shedeur Sanders has nothing to do with football and everything to do with fear. Fear of being wrong. Fear of being challenged. Fear of disrupting the order they built to protect themselves. And guess what? That fear is costing them big. It's costing them momentum. It's costing them the trust of their veterans. And soon, if they don't course correct, it's going to cost them Shedeur himself. Because no matter how patient or professional he's been, no player wants to be the most prepared person in the room and still be told to wait. Eventually, that patience turns into resentment. And when that happens, you lose him. Maybe not publicly. Maybe not dramatically. But little by little, you lose his faith in your system. You lose his belief in your leadership. And when his contract's up or another team comes calling, you lose the future you were too afraid to embrace. And don't think for a second that other teams aren't watching this unfold. Because they are. They're watching a franchise stall out the one player who could actually shift their trajectory, and they're just waiting for the Browns to blow it. Waiting to scoop him up, hand him the ball, and let him become the star he was always supposed to be. It's not a matter of if Shedeur gets his shot. It's a matter of where, and if the Browns don't get their act together, it won't be in Cleveland. And when that happens, we already know how it'll go. The Browns will act shocked. They'll push a "we wish him the best" press release. They'll spin it as a tough decision, or a business move. But it won't be any of those things. It'll be another blown opportunity. Another repeat of the same script we've seen a dozen times before. And fans? They'll be done. Because it's one thing to lose. It's another to lose while hiding your most capable player on the bench because you couldn't manage your own insecurities. The clock is ticking and this is it. This is the Browns' chance to finally break the cycle. Not with slogans. Not with empty promises. But with action. Start Shedeur Sanders. Not because it'll silence the critics, but because it's the right decision. Because leadership means recognizing when you've been wrong and having the guts to fix it. Because this fanbase deserves to see a team that puts winning over pride. Because the locker room needs a sign that performance still matters. And because Shedeur has done everything to earn this opportunity. If the Browns are serious about progress, they stop hiding behind the narrative and let the player speak for himself, on the field. But if they're not, if they keep dragging this out, if they let fear and ego take the wheel one more time, then they've already made their decision. Not just about Sanders, but about the kind of team they want to be. The Browns can't outrun this anymore. Every week they don't start Shedeur Sanders, the pressure doesn't just build, it detonates. And the franchise is running out of space to dodge the fallout. Because at this point, even silence is a statement. Every day they refuse to make the obvious move, they're sending a clear message to their players, the fans, and the entire league. They're not ready to let go of the lie. The lie that says they know what they're doing. The lie that says their internal processes are working. The lie that says this is all part of some big, calculated plan. It's not. It's denial dressed up in football language. It's indecision wearing a headset on the sideline. And it's insulting. The locker room sees it. The fans see it. The media's spelling it out in all caps. Shedeur Sanders is ready. He's earned it. He's earned more than the scraps of vague praise and someday soon quotes. He's earned the shot. But instead, the Browns are playing PR chess while the entire building is on fire. And let's be real, this could have been a turning point. They had a window to shift the tone, to admit they got it wrong, to reset and move forward. But no, they clung to the narrative instead. Chose delay over development. Chose spin over solution. Now, that window is almost closed. What's coming next isn't going to be quiet. It's going to be loud and messy. Because once you suppress a player this long, once you ignore locker room support, fan outrage, and media accountability, there's no clean exit. You've made it personal. You've turned a football decision into a referendum on leadership. And when it blows up, the damage won't stop with one player. It's going to ripple through everything. And for what? To save face? To protect the egos of executives who bet on the wrong guy? To avoid admitting that the rookie you tried to downplay is actually the only one capable of turning this season around? That's what it's come to. This isn't about being careful. It's about being cowardly. And when Shedeur finally gets the start, whether it's in Cleveland or somewhere else, he's going to prove what everyone else already knows. The Browns had the answer and they chose to bury it. So if you're watching this and wondering how much longer this franchise can stall, go ahead and drop a comment. Let us know what you think is really going on behind the scenes. Hit that like button if you're tired of excuses and make sure you're subscribed. Because when the moment finally breaks, when Shedeur steps on the field and this whole illusion shatters, we'll be here watching the empire of spin finally collapse under the weight of its own fear.